Good day to you. I'm LionHeartBlue and welcome back to ScrapChat Summit. Today we have a very exciting episode for you. Just before we get into that, just want to say if you do enjoy this episode, please hit that thumbs up button and subscribe. And don't forget to hit that notification bell so you don't miss any further episodes. It really does help out the channel and I would really appreciate your support. And without further ado, let's get started. And we're joined today by the magnificent MoonBo. Hi there, MoonBo.
Hello, Lion. Good to see you.
Thank you very, very much for joining.
Oh, my pleasure. My pleasure. Look at this. Look at these trees. You got a forest in here? What the?
Yeah, it's supposed to be like a lovely, what do you call it, avenue to the mayor's house at the end.
Oh, yeah, I see.
Not avenue. What is it called? I don't know. Anyway, there's a term for it.
A boulevard.
Yeah, that's better. Right, if you want to head down, I think there's only a couple of plots left. If you want to head down,
yeah.
choose your plot, and
Okay.
you can start building, and
It's a populated town now.
it's getting there, isn't it? Yeah.
Right. Lots of people here. Oh, that's a tall one. Okay, I think so. The con is right here at the end.
Yeah, that's
I got to be his neighbor. I'm gonna be his neighbor.
fair enough.
So I'm gonna go right here. I think I'm gonna claim this land right here.
Excellent. I imagine that most of your subscribers will already know this, but I got to be honest, I don't. Which country are you in?
Actually, yeah, I'm Canadian. Yeah, in Canada, in Nova Scotia, on the east coast, in the Maritimes.
Yeah, I did mention in Khan's episode, I think it might have been Cosmo's episode actually, I've been to Canada once and really enjoyed it.
Oh, did you? Yeah, where did you go, if you don't mind me asking?
Toronto.
Oh, yeah, to the big city.
Yeah.
So right now I'm just trying to come up with like a floor plan here, you know?
Yeah.
I was replacing everything and I was like, wait, this is already concrete. Why am I replacing things?
So other than your like gaming, etc., do you have any other passions, any other interests?
Well, I mean, for the last couple of years, I've been kind of cooped up on the computer, and so it's like you said, gaming is the obvious one, and so after a while, it gets kind of old, though, especially when you're at home for so long, and so I ended up taking up a huge passion in game development and like C# coding.
Oh, right.
Yeah, so I've been kind of getting really deep into all of that kind of stuff on Unity, specifically for the game dev, stuff like that. But
Yeah.
and so I mean, it's still gaming related, I guess. Actually, you can't escape the video games, right?
No.
But I mean, that's pretty much like when I'm not playing Scrap Mechanic, then usually what I'm doing is like learning in that front.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of fun. It's so much fun. The amount of power that you have when it comes to like, you know, you can do anything you want. You can make it all like what you want it to be, you know?
Yeah, it's incredible.
And it's just absolutely amazing. Yeah. I guess it's just one of those things that like maybe it's more so just the fact of how long game development has been around, but like it's so much more accessible and easy to do, and not to like say it's easy or anything like that, but it's just like the tutorials, the information and the learning that's like just like a Google search or a YouTube search away, you know?
Yeah, so with the game development, it's kind of once you've learned how you do things, I think it's down to your imagination then, isn't it? To what?
Exactly, yeah. And I mean, I think for me though, one of the biggest things when it comes to that game development is coming up with like it's a lot like Scrap Mechanic for me, right? Where you have a problem, and in Scrap Mechanic especially, like you create that problem yourself, right? Like that's just what this game is you make a problem and then you have to solve it, right?
Yeah.
And so game development for me has become just that, you know, making myself a problem and then solving it, you know? And so there's just something super like it's hard to explain the feeling I get when I like solve a problem that I created, you know, like,
Yeah.
I don't know. There's just something really rewarding about that, and it's hard to replace, honestly.
Totally get it. Yeah, yeah. I've done, or I guess over the years, it's application development and web development and other development. I've never ventured into game development.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah, it's something I'm interested in, but it's not something I've tried. So,
like when I was younger, maybe like when I was like a teenager, like, and this was back in the day, right? Like early 2000s. I would teach myself HTML and web design, but I realized that wasn't for me necessarily, because especially like the technology was changing at such a fast rate.
Yeah, it does evolve so quickly. It's impossible to keep up, really.
Mm-hmm.
So when you were younger, what did you think you'd be doing when you grew up and left school and everything?
Well, it was kind of along the lines of the web design, but I was more inclined to graphic design. You know, I always imagined that I would maybe do graphic work, you know, Photoshop, whether it's like corporate, you know, design or advertisement, or, you know, I mean, there's endless possibilities, I suppose, when it comes to the art side of things like that, right?
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, I tend to think I'm quite an artistic person at times, so that's why Scrap Mechanic is so good for me.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, yeah. You have the creative mind.
Exactly.
So, how and when or why did you start your YouTube channel?
So when was in 2016? I think it was March or April of 2016, and I started it literally because of Scrap Mechanic. That's why I started uploading to YouTube. And it's not like I started, like, I wasn't a YouTuber first. You know, I didn't start uploading videos in my mind thinking like, oh, I'm going to be creating gaming content for YouTube, you know? Like, that wasn't in the cards, so to speak. It was more because I was playing Scrap Mechanic and I fell in love with the game, you know? I bought it before the paint tool existed.
Right.
So I was playing this game before we could even paint things, and I fell in love with it. You know, I absolutely fell in love with it. That whole idea of like making my own problems and then coming up with the solutions to overcome that problem, you know? Yeah. There was something there for me, and it really just kind of sparked something inside of me in gaming. But I think Scrap Mechanic kind of found me, right? I find that this game found me, especially how long ago it was when I discovered it, because I was playing all sorts of the usual games online, what have you, and one day I just said to my girlfriend, I was just like, I'm bored. Like, I don't want to play any of the games that I have. Like, this is like, gaming is kind of losing a certain appeal, you know? And sure enough, I just went on Steam and started trying to find a game. I was like, I need to find a new game or something. And that's when I found Scrap Mechanic, and I didn't know I read a bit of the description, you know, I tried to kind of fill myself in with it, but I didn't know what I was getting into, you know? It was very vague in a lot of ways in terms of like what you think a normal game would be, right? Like, oh, a game has a story, it has this and it has that, and then you get into Scrap Mechanic and you're just kind of like, what did I get? But mind you, I think, you know, obviously the game now is it's a lot more solidified as a game, you know, than it was 4 or 5 years ago. And so because of that, I think people discovering the game now can probably they have a bit of a better idea of what they're getting into, you know.
Yeah.
But so when I found it though, and I was just like, wow, like, this game is so unique, it's so different, and like, I didn't even know what to expect, and I fell in love with it. And so I was making things in Scrap Mechanic, right? And I would make something really cool, and I would show my girlfriend. I'd be like, hey, look at this thing. And she'd be like, oh yeah, that's pretty cool. And I'd be like, yes, it's really cool. You have to believe me, it's really cool, you know? And so I was just like, who else will think this is cool? You know? And that's kind of the idea I had in my mind. It was like, if I'm obsessed with this the amount that I am,
Yeah.
then surely other people out there would get a kick at least, in that sense. Not like, I'm going to start making the content and I'm going to start making YouTube videos. I was just like, someone out there might think, hey, that's pretty cool, And so that's why I started uploading scrap mechanic videos, is because I just wanted other people to see what I was making. That's literally it.
Yeah. So there must have been a point then, either something you uploaded that did well, or made you think, actually, this is.
I think I started, the thing that kind of really, I think, started kind of creating a name for myself in scrap mechanic was the helicopters I started making. I think I was one of the first players in scrap mechanic to start designing and making helicopters, and I think that started catching people's eye. And so I don't know if you know Komodo Gaming, but I played a lot of scrap mechanic with Komodo. We've done a lot of multiplayer together, and I think for me, Komodo was kind of the guy that, like, it's not to say he planted the bug in my ear about making YouTube videos, but it was more like he was the one that kind of showed me, like, that you can do this, like it is something that you can do. And I mean, at the time, I'm not like, it's not like he was doing it for a living or anything like that at the time, this is years and years ago now. And so even for him, who's doing it, as a personal project kind of thing on YouTube, and seeing what he's done, it was just like kind of inspiring that in that sense, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I was inspired because of that, and honestly, it was also like the idea, because I made a helicopter, a Chinook helicopter, like the dual rotor helicopter, right?
Yeah.
And it was I was really proud of it, really cool. And Komodo was like, hey, like, I want to show this on my channel and stuff like that. And I was like, yeah, for sure, like, and he reached out and asked me to make sure it was okay and stuff. And I said, by all means, like, do a video on it and stuff. And I think it was kind of that act of, like, because my mind was, I want to start uploading scrap mechanic stuff because I want people to see the cool things I'm making. And then to have someone reach out to me and be like, hey, your thing is so cool, I want to help people see it as well,
Definitely, yeah.
I think, and so that was kind of like the it was the first domino, I guess you could say, right? So it was really cool.
So is YouTube something you do full time now? Is this your main thing, or do you have?
It is, yeah, it is. Yeah, it's what I do full time. I don't upload a lot, but in terms of, like, a career and making a living, YouTube is all about, you get what you put into it, right?
Yeah.
So the more like, obviously I'm not trying to say the formula to success or something, but I'm talking, like, when you can treat platform as like a stable, or YouTube as a stable platform, like, because of the experience you have on it, as well as the data, like, in that sense, where it's like, these are numbers I can look at and make sense of, you start to get a different picture of the whole thing, right? So for me, though, like, you put more in, you get more out. If I uploaded 3 videos every day, it would be a pretty ludicrous career, Oh, I'm getting a little input lag.
Yeah, but sometimes I think you don't need necessarily to upload regular. I mean, put it this way, I've seen from a lot of what you upload, there's a lot of effort and time goes into designing something, building something, getting it right, and then basically showing it
yes, that's exactly what I do. And so I take a lot of risk. When we're, like, again, we're talking in the context of my YouTube channel being my job, right? I take a lot of risk when I do that, in that sense, because it's like, I want to make creations that people can look at and go, wow, like, how and what, and like, where did you start? Like, where do you even start? And like, I love that. I love being able to share these amazing things with people. But like I was saying, like, I take on that risk where the more time and effort I put into something that would end up being for a YouTube video, if the return is not there, you know, then that can be seen kind of like a big waste of time, so to speak, right? But I think for me, I always try and make sure my number one priority is that what I'm building in Scrap Mechanic and what I'm uploading to YouTube is exactly what I want to be doing. You know,
Yeah.
like if I don't want to build this, then I'm not going to build it. You know, I'm going to build that instead. And I think that's important for me when in terms of making those videos, right? So if I do make a video and I spend 10, 15 hours, if not more, building that thing, and then the video does terribly, I have to just at least leave myself with the fact that I know what I did was worth it to me personally.
Yeah. If you don't do that, then it's just like any other regular job, right? Yeah.
Exactly. That's
So
exactly it.
it is, like you say, it is a bit risky in a sense, but you've got to enjoy what you're doing. It's
Yep. I have to enjoy it first and foremost. And the fact that I have like, you know, I think I have like 3,500 hours in Scrap Mechanic now.
right.
And like, and as far as I'm concerned, that's not even halfway through, you know, like I'm not even halfway done yet.
Yeah.
So I have to pace myself. And I think I know a lot of people watch my channel and they think like, man, like sometimes I go on these long extended breaks and stuff like that. But I think it's because I chose that path. You know, I chose the path of only doing Scrap Mechanic, and if I get, you know, a little worn out on the game, I need to take a step back, you know. And and that's that, because I've tried playing other games on my YouTube channel, and the more I try and play different games on my YouTube channel, the more I realize I'm not really a gaming YouTuber. I'm just a guy that has a ridiculous passion for Scrap Mechanic.
Yeah.
You know? And I tried playing other games and this and that, and I've uploaded videos on them and stuff, and it doesn't connect with me. My own content needs to like be there for me, you know?
Yeah.
When I finish a video and I go, oh, it's time to upload this, like I have to want to watch it too, you know. That's how I feel. I gotta want to watch it myself. And so if it's a game that I'm not really, you know, it's and not to say that I like it's a game I don't like or anything, right? Like there's plenty of games that I love and have enjoyed, but it's just not the game that I'm gonna make content on, you know.
Yeah. It's not about showing your ability to play a game. It's your creativity that you want to showcase.
Exactly. That's pretty much it. Yeah.
Yeah. And I must admit, that's the creative mind is something I feel I lack. And I look at the things you build, and I just think, my God, why couldn't I think of using that little piece to do that or to make this up? And yeah, I think sometimes it's incredible the detail you can put into it by working out how to use certain blocks. I think is incredible. Something that
it's a lot of fun. Yeah, I mean, I guess that's kind of like sometimes it's a lot of fun in that way, right? Because like, I mean, if we were playing a game, like if Scrap Mechanic was a game where it was like, here's every single shape and part that you would ever need, it's like there's a certain point where it's like, why don't I just open up 3D program Blender or something and start designing in that, right? There's a certain point where it's like, why am I not just 3D modeling? And I guess that's one of the beauties of a game like this, right? Is where it's like, oh man, I have this problem, you know, again with that whole I have a problem and I need to solve it kind of thing, right? And so being able to come back to that is it's just a cool thing to be able to always have that problem and solve it.
Yeah, so would you say then that you're showcasing your creations is the favorite part of the content you create, or because you've got obviously the multiplayer Monday stuff you do, and because obviously it must be it's a completely different thing, the multiplayer Monday. It must be a completely different experience, but
oh yeah, people, I think I get a reputation of being kind of dumb in multiplayer Monday because I play this game very differently than a lot of people, you know, in terms of like that problem solving. Like I like to work it out a little more and give myself a little more time and more revision, you know, try it, fail, try again kind of thing. So, but I mean, I've been like multiplayer Monday, you know, I don't even know how many videos we've done on it, you know, and how many challenges I've participated in. And regardless, though, I'm like I always have fun, right? So, like that challenge in itself, like just having a time limit on how much time you have to build. It's another one of those you have a problem, time to solve it, right? There's like a timer on the clock, and you only have so much time, so you have to start solving problems faster. So it just gets the brain working. So I really enjoy that. But definitely when it comes to like my own personal content creation, like I love recording my builds, and you know, it's like that whole idea where I was like, oh man, I made this cool thing and I can't wait for people to see it, you know, and that's kind of the attitude I go in with, right? Is just like excitement for others to get to see it, you know?
Yep. Yep.
And in the least narcissistic way possible. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, well, it's funny. I like creations, etc., isn't something that I really, because I don't feel I'm very good at them. I haven't sort of done that. But recently, I started to try and build I guess it's an AI car that would drive itself around
Oh,
this
yeah.
village. And I was doing that kind of slowly on my channel, just because it was really good to like build a bit, get some input, and kind of I was learning as well as showcasing what I was doing, and that really helped me.
Yeah.
So I can kind of see where, you know, when people were saying, "Oh, that's really good," something that I've created, I could see where that, you know, the joy from that comes.
Exactly, you know, and I mean, I think too, like the Steam Workshop, like I was playing this game. I started playing this game so long ago that the Steam Workshop wasn't a thing.
Oh,
Like
right, yeah.
I'm pretty sure I remember there was you couldn't share creations on the Steam Workshop, right? So what you had to do was you have to share the world download file.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
And that's what I would do. I would, you know, it was a lot more work back then to go in, get my world set up with the creations, and then save the world file, and then host it somewhere, and then put a link to it. You know, like it was a lot, but I did it because that's how much I wanted people to get to see what I was making. Like it's one thing to watch a video on it, but the fact that you can not only see the video and go, wow, that's so cool, and now I get to play with it.
Oh yeah.
You know, it's just, I think that's just something, it's just something so amazing, right? And that's why I love doing like top of the shop, right? Like whenever I do workshop videos from the, you know, the best builds of the week or whatever, like for me, it's just what a great privilege to be able to access, you know, hours of work. People spend tens of hours on some of these things, you know, and so I get that feeling for other people's builds and creations, maybe the same way that people see mine, you know, or how they get to experience it anyway.
So what's planned for your channel in the future? Just more of the same, or?
Yeah, I just started a brand new Scrap Mechanics series. I mean, I've been on a couple-week break here for the last little bit, but I'm gonna obviously, you know, I come and go, but the building never ends. But I started a brand new series that is called Lego to Life or whatever, you know, like bringing Lego build sets.
Yes, you did.
Into Scrap Mechanic, and so that's kind of my current project. I have a build ready to go for a video for that series, but
awesome.
It was a doozy of a build, and so I'm kind of just like taking a breather after it, because it's that whole idea too, like we were saying about my like potential risk in the amount of time I spend, you know, working on something. This was one of those builds that I spent a long time on, right? And so like sometimes when I finish it, I need to like just stop for a bit and just kind of like recollect my creative thoughts and stuff. And this is even before I record the video. I haven't even recorded the video on this build yet, and that's because I'm trying to let my battery recharge.
Yeah.
Even before that, you know. Do you want to see it? What I made?
Go on then.
I guess in my mind, when I'm building in this game now, I feel like I'm building toys almost, you know?
Yeah.
Where it's like, because it's like and this is my process in the game, right? Is like I build the thing, I put it on the workshop, people enjoy it and play with it in the game, you know? And so it's like I am kind of like a scrap mechanic toy manufacturer.
It's such a good idea as well, because with the blocks and obviously the colours you used, they do look just like Lego, and it's such a good idea.
Yeah, I did a decent amount of research on that series for Lego and stuff like that, and it's really cool to see, because especially when you said the color, right? And so Lego, they actually spend a lot of time figuring out their color design, and they have like their primary color, secondary color, and tertiary colors, and there's like ratios and stuff, like they actually have color ratios for like creating those colorful aesthetic pieces, right? Where it's like, that's blue in just the right spot, and that's red over there, and this is yellow, like. And so for me, like, that's kind of like why this like Lego series is so good, is because of the fact that Lego, like, they take a lot of the legwork out of the way for me, like the design is done, the colors are done. I just need to recreate it. Now, obviously, I still end up spending ridiculous amounts of hours working on something like that. But at the very least, there's a few things that are done for me, right? And that's not to make it sound like I'm lazy or something, but it's just like, it can be pretty exhausting having to come up with those ideas and stuff like that, or at least just the color design.
So thinking about Scrap Mechanic itself, the game, what is the biggest pet peeve? So the biggest thing about it that annoys you?
I thought about that question actually, and I have to like kind of come up with an answer in a way, because like I said, like I fell in love with this game 5 years ago when it first came out, and so for me it was kind of like, well, but I'd say, like, to answer the question, like the biggest pet peeve for me is probably like I don't know, actually. Like, there's the obvious ones, right? Like, oh man, I wish they were deving the game faster, or like those obvious ones. But I think for me, it's just, I wish they would make the creative map bigger.
As you mentioned before, like your passion for the game is more about what you create and showcasing that. So whereas other people have mentioned, oh yeah, the slowness of or the lack of X within survival and that, I didn't.
Oh yeah, yeah. Because I don't see this as a survival game. I don't treat it like a survival game at all, right? And that's it. Yeah, exactly. But I do enjoy Scrap Mechanic Survival, because it takes those elements of the game that I love, and it implements them in a meaningful way. I mean, as meaningful as survival can be right now, anyway.
Yeah. I mean, we've had the recently the dev blog for the upcoming
chapter 2.
Yeah. What in chapter 2 are you most looking forward to?
I think for me, I mean, I would wager that most people would probably answer the same way, and that's like the underground digging and stuff like that. Mainly because it's like it's truly like the most gameplay oriented content from the update, right? Or from the dev blog, is basically this new point of interest where you're going to be able to terraform in some ways, or at least destructively move through the ground, which I think is going to be really good. Now, I'm still not too sure on this whole chapter release update style that they're doing, just because I didn't think it would be the kind of game that would work for that. So I'm curious to see, because chapter 1, I don't know if we can really call it chapter 1 in some ways, but I'm gonna have to just sit and wait and see what this chapter style release system is going to like really entail,
Yeah.
But yeah, the sticky wheels is really cool as well. I think I guess it's like I was saying, like they need to like make sure that the things that they add kind of warrants building the things that you need, And so sometimes I might be a little worried that it's like, you're going to give us a whole bunch of stuff to build with and work with, but the game won't kind of demand it out of you,
Yeah.
But I'm just building every day, so they'll just work on their game, and I'll keep building, and that's that.
So what do you think is missing from, or what would you like to see in the vanilla game?
That's a good question actually, because I'm so used to playing the game with the way it's kind of been, handed to me that it's hard to imagine different things in it like that. But I mean, realistically, I think I would like you know what? I don't even know. I'm trying to think here.
I think it's like putting you on the spot because I don't think you see the game as such as being restrictive. That's part of its joy for you because it makes it more challenging to come up with your creations. I
Well,
think it,
exactly. Yeah,
yeah,
that's a good point.
if there were more blocks or more whatever, it would be less of a challenge because it would be almost too easy for you, I presume.
Yeah, well, it's like I was saying, at what point do you just open up a 3D rendering program and start
Yeah.
modeling in that,
Yeah.
But I think because this game, it really offers so many different ways to play it, like you can play it with the logic and or you can like kind of just create mechanical things because you can, like, you know what I mean, like you can solve a logical problem with mechanical design, which is like that fact alone, right? Like you can make a physical computer system in the game
Yeah.
is just like mind-blowing, right?
Yeah.
But in terms of like building, honestly, it's sometimes it's like small things. Like for example, like if I grab my paint tool and I want to paint something and you're restricting me to 256 blocks, it's like, why not at least maybe give me the ability to like paint an entire section of something,
Yeah. Yeah.
So like I guess maybe that's like a decent answer from me because it keeps the creative kind of idea in my mind for the game, but it also provides a solution to a bit of a problem, And that is like if you want to paint something, sometimes it can be time consuming. Sometimes it's more time consuming to paint something than to build it,
Yeah. Yeah. It's usually about this sort of time when we get to the last two questions and everyone starts to panic, like, oh my gosh, I'm nowhere near ready.
Yeah, we're already at the last two questions.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not ready. I'll answer them very slowly.
Exactly. Yeah, I'm more than happy to ask them slowly as well. You think, well, half an hour, whatever, sounds like a long time, but once you get into the build, it's not.
Oh, I know. Well, I think the biggest thing too is like, and I think this can be applied to like a lot of other things beyond just building and scrap mechanic, but like, when you're doing something and maybe it's like not like building in this game doesn't have to be mindless, but like, when you're answering questions and stuff, this starts to feel a little mindless because I'm focusing on my answers while I'm trying to build this. And so I noticed that my building slows down a lot because of that fact.
So in the previous episode, when Khan was obviously building his little house over here, his question...
Beautiful, Ken.
It's great, isn't it?
Yeah.
His question was, or is, if you could go back in time and tell your younger self one thing, what would you say?
You know what? That's a good question. This might come off as a bit of a joke answer, but it's not. And I think you have to consider the year and stuff, and the timeline of everything. But I would tell myself that computer games are going to be really cool, and no matter how much people make fun of you for it, one day it's going to be the coolest thing, Because for me, growing up, like I was a hardcore gamer as a kid, right? Like playing video games. And back then in the late 90s and stuff, like it wasn't such a pop culture thing to be playing video games, right? It was kind of like the nerdy thing to do, and people made fun of you for it and stuff like that. And I mean, I don't think people realized, or no one realized what video games would become in the future, And like I can't imagine myself when I was like a young teenager, someone being like, "Hey, when you're older, like you're gonna play video games on the internet, and you'll be able to make money, and you'll get a huge amount of personal joy and satisfaction in doing that." You know, like
Yeah.
you couldn't convince me of that 20 years ago. So I think that's what I would say. I would say, hey, gaming will be cool, but like I said, that's very specific to the time frame and stuff of all these
Yeah.
things happening. So
How would that have helped you in that time? What would you have felt differently if you'd heard that?
it probably maybe it would have just maybe allowed for me to be more confident in
Yeah.
myself.
Fine. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Yeah, because you still
Yeah,
went ahead
and
and
it's
did this. So
exactly. Oh, absolutely. But I mean, at the very least, I think that's because, you know, I'm 33 now, right? So the times have changed, and so picking up something like this and doing it felt a lot more natural, you know, than
Yeah.
say if I were to try and do it, you know, back in the day. Obviously, I'm talking about a time before, you know, things like YouTube even existed, right?
So the very last question, it's one for you really, where you now need to ask a question for whoever comes next in this series.
Oh, yes, okay. I kind of thought of one, and because I wanted to keep it scrap mechanic related.
Okay. Yeah.
And the question is, what do you really want to make in scrap mechanic that you haven't made yet? And why haven't you made it yet? And the reason why I asked that question that way is because if you want to make something and you've made it, you know, there's probably going to be something else that you really want to make. You know, there's always something else. You know, that's kind of my point, is there's always something else. And so when you finish a build and you have an idea for the next one, what's stopping you from building it, you know? And I kind of bring that up too because one of the funniest things I have found in the years of me playing this game and being a part of the community and stuff is like, I never understood why sometimes I would make something in the game, right? And I would get plenty of people just being like, "Oh, wow, you did such a good job. This is so cool. I was going to build one, but I'm not going to now." And it's like, what? It kind of irks me a bit sometimes when people tell me there's no point in them making something anymore, all because I made it already.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I'm not going to feel bad. You know, I'm not saying it because I feel bad about something like that, but it's more so just like, I want to get into the creator's mind, you know? Like if someone makes something, that doesn't mean you shouldn't challenge yourself to try and make it anyway.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. You kind of, you're building it, something for your enjoyment, but you want it to inspire others, not to like have the opposite effect where they go, "Oh, I'm not going to bother building now."
Exactly. And that's really what it comes down to, and why I upload everything I do is because I want people to get inspired. That's always been my number one, like, I don't know what the word I'm looking for is, but it's my number one goal in terms of working on my channel and uploading content and like always trying to kind of like do better each time and make something better and be more inspiring. You know, it's exhausting at times, but like that's why I do it. It's like you said, it's why I do it. When people say like, "Wow, that is like the coolest thing I've ever seen in scrap mechanic," like my job is done, you know?
Yeah.
So I'm not done yet. I'm not done yet.
Don't worry. Okay. Well, would you like to show us inside your pineapple?
Yes, my pineapple. Under the sea, by the way.
Yeah, definitely.
It's under the sea. You hold your breath. So this is my SpongeBob pineapple because, you know, I'm Khan's neighbor here, and this was kind of modeled a little bit after Patrick's rock, you know, where he lives under a rock. So we've got the pineapple with a little kelpie garden here. We have a wonderful kind of nautical door. There we go. Crack it open, go inside, and look at that. We got ourselves a bed and TV, and there's also Gary, our friendly... Is it a snail? I mean, it's under... Do snails live underwater? I don't think they do.
I would presume it was, but...
Oh yeah, so this is my house here on the street. It's pretty cozy. Look at this wonderful window. Look at that view you get down there too. Actually, that's a nice window.
Yeah, yeah. I like it on the angle. I think it works. Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah. That's my house. I'm happy with it.
Well, I'd like to say thank you very much for joining and answering all my questions. It's been a lot of fun.
Oh yeah, no, it's been a pleasure. Thank you for asking. They're really good questions. Honestly, got me thinking, which is it's what I wanted to do on this fine day. It was a pleasure being here. I had so much fun, and I've watched the whole series. I've watched everyone. It's so cool. Like, I think Scrap Mechanic's an amazing game with a great community, and I think I love what you're doing with this town. You know, it's really cool. It's really populated now, and it was a great pleasure. Thank you so much, Lion, for having me.
It was my pleasure. Thank you very much. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.
Yeah, I had to confirm my idea here. I had to reconfirm Cons because I noticed like Cons looks a lot like just like his garbage can logo.
Yeah.
But I was like, I thought I remember him specifically mentioning SpongeBob.
Yeah, that's right.
And that's I'm gonna be SpongeBob, his neighbor, but on the wrong side of the rock.